Africa's soil is rich with cobalt, diamonds, gold, oil, and natural gas, resources that have drawn the world's attention for centuries. Today, a new scramble is underway, but this time it's not about armies and flags. It's about contracts, loans, and infrastructure. Nations from every corner, west and east, are racing to secure Africa's resources, building ports and railways to guarantee their supply. This surge of investment could transform Africa, funding schools, hospitals, and power grids, and lifting millions out of poverty. But the stakes are high. African leaders must navigate a maze of offers, each with its own risks and rewards. The risk of debt, environmental destruction, and wealth flowing out of the continent is real. Africa stands at a crossroads. Will it finally harness its wealth for its people, or repeat the mistakes of the past? The continent is no longer a passive stage. It has a voice and a choice. The central question is not just who wants Africa's resources, but who will control them, and who will truly benefit. The future of Africa hangs in the balance, shaped by decisions made today. The world is watching, but the outcome will be decided by Africans themselves. The new scramble is on, and the stakes have never been higher. Before colonialism, Africa's empires thrived on trade: gold from Mali, spices from Zanzibar, and salt from Timbuktu. These networks were run by Africans, for Africans, and built on exchange, not just extraction. Colonialism shattered this system. The slave trade tore millions from their homes, and European powers carved up the continent for their own gain. Infrastructure like railways and ports was built to move resources out, not to connect Africans. Colonial borders forced together rival groups, sowing seeds of future conflict. After independence, African nations inherited economies built for export, not self-sufficiency. Aid and loans from the West often came with strings attached, continuing patterns of external control. This legacy shapes how Africans view today's foreign interest, with caution and a determination to forge a fairer future. The past is not forgotten. It's the backdrop to every negotiation. Africa's challenge is to break the cycle of dependency and build prosperity on its own terms. The lessons of history are clear: true development must be driven from within. In the 2000s, China arrived in Africa with a new approach: massive investment, few political strings, and a promise of partnership. Chinese companies built roads, bridges, and stadiums at a pace never seen before. China's goal is clear: secure oil, copper, and cobalt to fuel its own growth. In return, African nations get infrastructure and financing, making China their largest trading partner. The Belt and Road Initiative has funded railways and ports, connecting Africa's resources to global markets. For many African leaders, China's speed and scale are a welcome alternative to Western bureaucracy. But critics warn of opaque deals, mounting debt, and projects that benefit China more than Africans. Concerns over environmental damage and the use of Chinese labor persist. The debate is fierce. Is China a true partner, or just the latest power extracting Africa's wealth? The answer depends on how these deals are managed and who ultimately benefits. Africa's leaders must weigh short-term gains against long-term costs. The stakes are nothing less than the continent's future. China isn't alone in Africa. The US, UK, France, and new players like Turkey, Russia, and the Gulf states are all vying for influence. Western nations now compete with China's investment model, while others offer security, technology, or trade. This crowded field gives African nations more leverage than ever before. No longer forced to choose sides, leaders can negotiate better deals and pursue their own interests. Loans and investments are up for grabs, and new infrastructure is transforming cities and economies. But the long-term impact is uncertain. Will this competition drive real development or just enrich a few and leave the rest behind? The power to choose is real, but so are the risks. African governments must balance opportunity with caution. The outcome will shape the continent for generations. The world's attention is fixed on Africa, but the real winners and losers will be decided at home. Foreign investment promises a golden age for Africa: new roads, ports, and jobs. But beneath the surface, dangers lurk. Many projects are financed by loans, often with tough terms. If countries can't pay, they risk losing control of key assets. Accusations of debt-trap diplomacy are growing, as some fear Africa is trading resources for unsustainable debt. The environment pays a price too. Mining pollutes rivers, dams displace communities, and forests fall to make way for plantations. These scars can last for generations, long after the profits are gone. Wealth from resources often stays at the top, fueling corruption and inequality. Ordinary people may see little benefit, while bearing the brunt of environmental and social costs. The challenge is clear: manage the boom wisely, or risk repeating the mistakes of the past. Governments must ensure that benefits are shared, not hoarded. The true test is whether Africa's riches will lift all its people, or just a privileged few. The choices made now will echo for decades. The resource boom is a double-edged sword. Is the new scramble for Africa just colonialism in disguise? Critics see troubling echoes. Africa exports raw materials, imports expensive finished goods, and risks falling into debt. Infrastructure is often built to move resources out, not to empower local economies. The power imbalance with global giants like China or the US is stark, but today's Africa is different. Leaders have agency, they can negotiate, say no, and choose their partners. Competition between foreign powers gives Africa leverage it never had before. The outcome depends on African choices, transparency, accountability, and smart negotiation. If governments insist on fair terms, local jobs, and environmental protection, they can turn foreign interest into real development. Africa is not a passive victim, it's an active player shaping its own destiny. The future will be defined by African decisions, not foreign dictates. Africa's future won't be decided in foreign capitals. It will be shaped in African cities and villages. The key is strong, accountable leadership and good governance. Fighting corruption and building transparent institutions are essential. Botswana's success with diamond revenues shows what's possible when resources are managed wisely. The next step is moving beyond raw exports. Processing and manufacturing at home creates jobs and builds resilient economies. Beneficiation, turning cocoa into chocolate, oil into petrol, keeps more value in Africa. Regional integration is vital. The African Continental Free Trade Area can unite markets and boost intra-African trade. Together, African nations have more bargaining power and can set their own standards. The path to prosperity is clear: invest in people, add value at home, and negotiate from strength. The world may compete for Africa's riches, but only Africans can decide how those riches are used. The power to choose a different path is real, and it's never been more important. The time to act is now. Africa's greatest resource isn't in the ground, it's its people. With the world's youngest population, the continent's future depends on investing in education and skills. Technology is a game changer. Mobile money, drones, and solar power are already transforming lives. Innovation can help Africa leapfrog old challenges and find new solutions. Inclusive growth is essential, supporting small farmers, empowering women, and building safety nets for the vulnerable. Creative industries like Nollywood are booming, creating jobs and shaping Africa's global image. By investing in culture and creativity, Africa can tell its own story to the world. Prosperity means more than wealth. It's about opportunity, dignity, and a shared sense of purpose. The foundation for success is being laid today. Africa's future will be built by its people, for its people. The world is watching, but the real work is happening on the ground. Africa's story is one of opportunity and challenge, hope and risk. The global race for resources offers a chance for rapid development, but also the danger of new dependency. The echoes of colonialism are real, but so is the rise of African agency. For the first time, African nations have real leverage and the power to set their own course. The true struggle is internal for good governance, education, and equitable growth. A new generation is rising, entrepreneurs, activists, and leaders determined to write a new narrative. Africa's greatest riches are its people, their ingenuity, resilience, and ambition. The continent is not just rising, it's remaking itself. The future is unwritten, but it's finally in African hands. The world's eyes are on Africa, but its destiny will be decided from within.